So in this biomechanical analysis, we're going to be looking at the freestyle stroke. I'm going to be using one of my swimmers, Anna. She's going to demonstrate technique corrections from both a quantitative and a qualitative perspective. So over the past 2 years of her swimming career, Anna has really used technique to become more efficient and use less energy when she swims. I think if she were to talk about her stroke as a freshman in college, she would say that it wasn't pretty to watch. And we've made a lot of corrections since then, which has enabled her to drop a lot of time and have some big performance improvements. In our program, we're constantly trying to get a feel for where we're maximizing the force and minimizing our resistance. We like to call this our sweet spot. Elite swimmers have an efficiency of 80%, so the goal is to constantly be working towards this level. Specifically with Anna, we're going to target 3 areas: body alignment, catch, and stroke length. So before we really start to work on arm strokes in freestyle, the most important thing is to focus on body alignment. And when we start a season, we'll actually do a lot of body position work, getting a feel for where we should be on top of the water and where our head should be before we even start to develop our freestyle stroke. So typically in freestyle, you want to see that your head stays down, the eyes are looking down towards the bottom of the pool, and the water should actually be hitting the middle of the top of your head. If your head's in this position, then your hips are going to stay up, reducing form drag. Less effective alignment, which is hard to teach once they've already gotten in that pattern, causes a lot more drag. So if the body is out of alignment and the head is lifted up, the swimmer is going to fatigue more quickly and slow down more when they try to add the strokes in and swim faster. You can have the athlete throw a snorkel on so they don't have to worry about coming up for air. But you see when she starts to lift her head up that her feet start to drop, and then the top of her body actually hits more resistance. So you can tell once she gets her head down into that optimal position, she starts to actually move a little bit quicker. Now, and do another 25 where you go half a lap with your head in that optimal position, kick, and then I want you to swim the rest of the way. Try to keep your head in the same position. Once Anna can feel where her body position is most efficient, she's going to start to add in the freestyle arm strokes. This is a little bit easier with the snorkel on. Once you add in that side breath, it becomes even harder to maintain good body position while swimming. So in freestyle, the catch is the initial entry of the hand. The hand is going to hook the water to propel the body forward. We always want to think that the swimmer is pushing past a set point where they place their hand instead of pushing that water back. In the catch, the trapezius is elevated and the rhomboids retract the scapula. As the swimmer starts to pull through, the fingertips should be pointed down towards the bottom of the pool. There's been some debate on which pull pattern is most efficient, whether more of an S-type skull is faster versus whether pulling straight back is faster. And what they found most recently is that pulling straight back is more powerful and more efficient. Throughout the pull back and all of the catch, you want to work on keeping the elbows high, as dropping the elbows can cause some body alignment issues and increase the drag. If the catch is even with the shoulders. You don't want to be too far outside that line or too far in front of the head. You're going to generate more force. So keep that in mind while working on catch as well. This is on a pre-technique work, and there's a few things that stick out to me here that we can clean up. The first is that her fingertips aren't pointed down towards the bottom of the pool throughout her entire catch. She's also sculling out just a bit on each hand entry. We really want to try and clean that up so when her fingertips hit the water, they immediately point down towards the bottom of the pool and start to pull back without any skull out and then down. So keeping those elbows high and really working on fingertips down in the first part of the catch is going to help her establish a set point that she can push her body past. Right here we're seeing a lot of side-to-side rotation, but not as much forward as I'd like. Okay, so this is post-technique work, and I don't think it really needs a lot of explaining. You can clearly see the changes that Anna has made. She is doing a good job really nailing that hand entry, and her hand really just pulls straight back. Now you can see where that set point is that she's pushing her body past. Another thing is that she's keeping those elbows high, and there's really not too much side-to-side rotation. The last thing I want to point out here is her head position is perfect. It allows her to move forward while her hips are up, and it's just a beautiful body line. The last thing that's really helpful to Anna to keep working on is her stroke length. If the same amount of force is applied with each stroke, then longer strokes are going to propel the body further. Less strokes per length means that the swimmer is going to fatigue less quickly and be able to maintain that. Work on the length of your stroke. So sometimes you have a tendency to enter a little bit close to your head, so we want to make sure we get those fingertips out in front of the shoulder and out in front of the head with each entry. So why don't you go ahead and do 25, and you're going to start short and progressively get longer with your arm strokes. The last part of the analysis is the quantitative analysis of the freestyle stroke. What we did was do 3 25s before we worked on technique with Anna and 3 25s after. And I took 3 measurements. Those measurements were the total lap time, the number of strokes she's taking per lap, and her stroke rate. Stroke rate can be defined as the time it takes for 5 stroke cycles. So it tells us how fast we're taking our strokes. These 3 numbers together tell us a lot about the efficiency. I'm not going to go into too much detail right here, but you'll see the results after, and it'll make a little bit more sense. All right, number 3, take your mark, go! So this is the last 25 of the first round before we worked on her technique. See if you can point out anything that she could maybe clean up. Alright, we were 70 tempo on that one and 13.0 on the time. Okay, so now Anna's going to redo her 325s, and we're going to see if we're a bit more efficient now that we've worked on some technical things. Ready? Take your mark. Go! .13.0, 76 tempo. 15? 13. So now we're just going to take a look at the data. Pre-technique work, her average stroke count per lap was 16.3. Tempo was 69, which means it was taking 6.9 seconds for 5 stroke cycles. Time was 12.8 seconds for the whole lap. Post-technique, Anna had reduced her stroke count to 13. She'd increased the tempo to 774, which means it was taking her a bit longer to finish 5 stroke cycles, 7.4 seconds as opposed to 6.9. And her time was 12.7. So very similar average on the time right there, but something that really sticks out to me is the difference between 16 strokes and 13 strokes. And if you can imagine a race that's 8 laps to 20 laps, you're really going to want to go with that 13 stroke count because you're going the same time, but you're going to be able to maintain the 13 because it requires less energy, and that means you're going to fatigue less and swim faster.
Swimming is one of those sports where you put everything you have into it no matter what, so the little bits of technique improvement I have help a lot in the long run.